Good morning, and thank you for attending this session. My colleague Mike Staal and I are excited to tell you about WISE, Water Entrepreneurs for Successful Enterprises program that is now part of the Water Environment Federation. As I'm sure you know, managing a utility is a complex challenge. Meeting that challenge is aided by a methodology based on systems thinking. WISE is a program that does just that. At the center of this effort is the development of documented business processes using a standard methodology covering the entire value chain for water and wastewater organizations. Business process documentation is often absent or deficient in most utilities. Recognizing that it's critical to integrate business processes with workforce, organizational culture, and technology, WISE provides a holistic methodology and approach. And by producing documentation in a standard business process model, it enables sharing of practices and these business processes across organizations. This is a wonderful collaboration of leading utilities from across the country, as well as leading international utilities. This morning, we'll talk about the WISE program, give you some of its history and background, the mission and framework of the program, and the methodology. We'll also talk about the people side of the WISE program, including change management. My friend and colleague Mike Staal with the City of Grand Rapids will present the work that they did on one of their key business processes, which demonstrates the value of the program. Collaboration in and amongst the utility partners is key to the success of WISE, and we'll talk about some of the utilities who are committed to the program. We'll close the presentation by inviting you to join us and who to talk to for more information. WISE started as the Utility Analysis and Improvement Methodology Research Project, or as we affectionately call it, UAM, through the Water, Environment, and Reuse Foundation, now the Water Research Foundation. But the mission remains the same: develop and apply a holistic analysis framework and a methodology based on business process models to help utilities improve maturity of their capabilities and implement change management focused on value and overall performance improvement. In order to understand how our utilities deliver value in a holistic framework, we needed to create a water sector value model. Here's the model we built that includes sourcing water from the environment, adding value as we collect, treat, and distribute water to our customers, and then collecting the used water, treating it, recovering resources from it, and finally returning it back to the environment. From the value model, we then build the value elements, such as acquiring assets, operating them, managing our financial resources, managing external relations, and managing our human capital. These are all done under a vision and strategy umbrella. From there, we look at the how: workflows, data models, decisions, metrics, systems, and roles. This is where we begin mapping our business processes. These business process models are all curated as part of the WISE program. They are developed and shared by the utility partners in consistent standard notation. Part of the mission of the WISE program is to help organizations improve their maturity and capability. Here's a model we might use to consider organizational maturity. Moving from left to right, an organization goes from an ad hoc approach to creating structures within the organization, then standardizing them, which eventually creates stability and predictability. At a high level of capability, an organization begins to plan innovation, and continuous improvement is the standard way of doing business. Change management is a part of the way the organization accomplishes this nimbleness. This model provides a high-level framework whereby we might assess where our utility is and where we want to go. Under WISE, utility partners are co-creating more detailed levels of organizational maturity. For example, models are available for organizational culture and workforce development. So how do we break down a utility and how value is created? Since the beginning of the research, WISE has utilized this 9-box model to describe how that is done. The 3 elements are people, processes, and technology. The time element is broken down into the near term, the operational, midterm, or the tactical, and long term, which are typically strategic or perhaps even aspirational. But where do utilities face most of their challenges when trying to improve their organizations? Our utility partners were in agreement that most challenges are people and or business process related. Very few are related to technology. So we spend almost all of our efforts on business processes and people-related systems such as workforce development, organizational culture, and change management. So we look at how things get done in utilities, what they do to create value. WISE has a framework to describe value creation using this 3x3 matrix as noted earlier. People, processes, and technology working together on an operational, tactical, and strategic time frame. Then we needed a methodology for improvement for enhancing these aspects of value. We chose a continuous improvement model where we assessed the current maturity level of the process, compared it to where we want it to be, then planned improvements, implemented them, monitored for performance impact and any unintended consequences, and then to come full cycle, assessed where we are compared to the desired state. Continuous improvement is also practiced by the program. WISE is updating the UAIM framework to include maturity levels as indicated by these colored squares. The utility partners are developing the specific models in each area. Bringing it all together, these frameworks encapsulate the idea that value is created when the workforce interacts within the organization to execute business processes that may be enabled by technology. To enable the continuous improvement model effectively, change management must be included because, as just noted, it's the people in the organization that execute business processes, oftentimes with applied technology, that creates the value. People are always at the heart of the value creation. Change management is key to the WISE methodology. The utility partners are creating a shared WISE knowledge database, which includes the water sector value model and recommended leading practices, artifacts, case studies, and metrics. These are freely available to all members of the WISE program. How does all this work? The drivers for improvement, the why, are defined by each organization in their strategic documents, in their KPIs, and their organizational goals. Goals for the organization drive the continuous improvement cycle. WISE is focused on the what organizations need to do to create value and how to improve. As noted earlier, change management is key to improvement, a process that is focused on managing the dynamics and interactions between people, processes, and technology. Because 90% of the challenges identified by the utility partners are in the people and process categories, that is where our efforts are currently focused. In addition, we are fortunate that one of the WISE program team is also a co-principal investigator on the Water Research Foundation's Smart Utilities and Intelligent Water Systems project. This will bring the third dimension, technology, into the WISE framework. With different components, models, and interactions, things can get complicated. So how do we create a holistic view that would capture this complexity? Applying the maturity assessment tools we are developing will allow utilities to construct a holistic dashboard to view the different levels of maturity capability in an organization. organizations will be able to identify areas for improvement. A good example applying to business process modeling to increase capability is the City of Grand Rapids and a process improvement they developed. My colleague Mike Staal from the city will tell you more about it.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, my name is Mike Staal, and I'm a project manager with the City of Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids joined the WISE group back when it was UAIM in 2017. When I first started collaborating with UAIM, I didn't even know what a business process model was, much less how to make one or how to analyze it. This group of utility partners and experts really helped me grow my skills, and now I am using business process models for many projects. After the first segment of working with different utilities across the country to develop various business process models, I started creating business process models on my own, even processes that are not part of my daily tasks. I work with the city's experts on these processes to document the existing process, to design the future process, and then analyze it. In the next few slides, I will walk you through our case study on the city's process related to cross-media electronic reporting in the industrial pretreatment section. So let's dive into the as-is state. The cross-media electronic reporting rule, if you don't know, is how utilities navigate the EPA's legal framework for electronic reporting for environmental regulations. So, for the City of Grand Rapids, with all of our 84 permitted industrial users, we have our IPP team who handles 960 hard copy reports. And those reports are mailed in or faxed in, dropped off at the front office, and each of those reports then has to be combed through, ensuring that they're compliant with that specific permit. So, to start our process in documenting the existing process, I worked with our IPP lead to document each process step by step, documenting each step with every decision point that's needed. And it became apparent that there has to be a better way, especially in this day of electronic communications. From there, we had to design the to-be or future state. Thankfully, we have a great IPP team who had already been thinking about what this process would look like. We put the process up on a big board, and we were able to talk through what it would look like. We did identify a few points of delays, different bottlenecks, and areas that had confusion, and were able to work through those. Once we got to the point where we thought, all right, this process is about done, we thought, well, all right, this is great, but it's just boxes on a page. What does this really mean to the utility, or our utility leaders, or more importantly, to our customers? To understand what this change meant, we had to put this change in terms of hours and dollars. So our team worked to gather or estimate costs for materials, labor, and equipment, as well as the effort required for each of those categories for both the utility and the industrial user. We ran two different simulations, one for the existing condition and one for the future condition. And in these simulations, we included one case per week for a full year, with 2 FTEs associated with working these cases. And you can see the results of those simulations on this slide. Now, there are certainly limitations to this simulation, just like there are in any model, but this minimal effort gave us a really good idea if the effort was worth pursuing further. And that's exactly what we did. We have continued to push forward on this project and are in the middle of implementing these changes now. Some of the system is currently in operation, and other parts are still in development, scheduled to be complete in the next few months. After that's done, we'll have a much better sense of the performance, and thankfully, our IPP group is very innovative and forward-thinking when it comes to tracking performance. And like any lean or continuous improvement process, We will continue to assess the maturity of this process and make improvements as needed. That is the city's case study on the cross-media reporting rule business process evaluation. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Mark.
So moving forward, what began as an idea presented in an industry publication, then launched as a research project with the Water Research Foundation, has now become a movement as part of the Water Environment Federation. WISE is ably stewarded by WEF staff members Fidan Karamova and Lisa McFadden, and works in close relationship with the Utility Management Committee, but does have its own strategic steering committee run by WISE utility partners and program leaders including Dr. Chela Vitasevich and Mr. Scott Haskins. The Strategic Steering Committee has members that have served in leadership positions on the Utility Management Committee, including Todd Swinkle of Toho Water, Zonetta English of Louisville MSD, as well as past WEF President Jackie Jarrell of Charlotte Water. WISE Steering Committee positions are open to all utility partners. If you are interested in finding out more about WISE, a number of documents are available, including a WISE technical report that describes the vision for this program and was just issued recently. This report can be obtained from WEF. Draft final project report for UAM has been submitted to the Water Research Foundation. It is currently being reviewed by the Project Advisory Committee and will be finished this summer. In the early days of UAM, we published a white paper that described 4 initiatives in the water sector and how they related to each other. The paper was issued by the Water Research Foundation, and it was co-authored by Andy Cricken, who contributed a section in the Utility of the Future. Jim Horn authored a section on effective utility management. Scott Haskins presented a summary of the AWWA benchmarking effort, and Chela Vitasevich contributed an introduction to UAM or the WISE program. The benefits of participating in the WISE program include developing and sharing team-produced business processes and collaborating with peers across the industry, learning, developing, and applying leading practices. This has been some of the most rewarding work for the subject matter experts from our utility partners. Improving individual utility work with demonstrated cost savings and standardization, as Mike demonstrated at the City of Grand Rapids. And this is just one of the many case studies from the WISE program. To create maturity models, assessment tools, and employee surveys to address workforce and organizational culture. This is a recent addition, and we have great participation from utility leaders as well as subject matter experts in this area, including Kesra Osman at the Great Lakes Water Authority. And the WISE framework's holistic approach creates integration of people, processes, and technology at a strategic, operational, and tactical level. Perhaps the greatest benefit of participating in WISE is the strong collaboration in and among our utility partners. Their work includes initiatives on topics of common interest, asset management program, risk, business case evaluation, capital improvement program, as well as the people areas, workforce, organizational culture, and change management. WISE will continue this work and broaden it to include additional topics directed by our utility partners. It's great to have so many leading utilities throughout the U.S., as well as several international utility partners, all working together to make their utilities stronger and more resilient. This is one of the best collaborations I've been involved with, working with bright, smart, motivated colleagues from around the country as well as internationally. We get a lot of great work done, we learn from each other, and we have some fun. If you'd like to learn more, please contact me, Mike, Fidan, or Lisa, or visit the website. Mike and I are happy to answer your questions. Thank you.